What's up, guys? Episode 5 of Mac and Smitty. We're back. We're together. I'm in a new place. I don't know where the heck I am.
Beautiful.
That's part
Looks
of
like you work out a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? We need to do kind of like a MTV Cribs thing and just show you around. You kind of see it all right now, but we can go in depth and kind of show you some of the fun things. And we need to see your gym, and we need to see Spider.
Come on, man.
Over there.
I don't lift.
Yeah, well, I saw Big John Heck like out in the wilderness. I think
Exactly,
that was outside
man.
of Spider.
It's all a facade.
Do you have a lawnmower? Like, do y'all cut grass over there, or what's the deal?
It's me, man. You got to talk to the maintenance department.
CEO, maintenance manager.
Come on,
CFO,
man. You name it.
He's right there.
Name
He's
it.
right there. Another guy, speaking of a Renaissance man, Coach Griz from SMU is joining us today. And, man, he is amazing. It was really fun talking with him. I've met him a ton of times. Ike, you had the privilege of hanging out with me in Dallas the other week.
Yep.
Really, when we launched this thing, that was in Dallas. We started
man.
it right there in the motherland of
Yep.
Texas. And, man, that facility is amazing. Coach was amazing. And I really had fun talking with him today.
Yeah, man. It's funny you mentioned that because I didn't even put two and two together as far as, our pilot episode was in Dallas. And obviously that's where we spent our time at SMU. So I had the pleasure of meeting Coach Griz, and he, of course, blessed us with letting us in that beautiful facility, man. It's just like, dog, kid in a candy store. It never gets old. So I'm excited, man. This was a great conversation. Looking forward to you guys hearing, how Coach Griz approaches training his guys and, how he got into the game. So enjoy.
Coach Griz, great to see you, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. It's summertime. I don't know about in Dallas. I'm sure it is, but it is extremely hot over in the Carolinas. We're having like a historical heat wave over here. But just kind of wanted to see how summer was going for you. And is there any time off, any vacay before we really ramp things up?
We're just finishing up. We'll finish up week 5 tomorrow. We go a 5-week block and then kind of get them off. They'll be here next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Get them out early on Wednesday. They get a longer little break there for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then we come back on Monday, July 7th to get them rocking and rolling again. So it goes by fast. I mean, it seems like it was just Memorial Day. We were having a team barbecue back. So as you guys know that played, I mean, it goes by really quick.
And how's the energy been for most of the guys? Obviously, like you said, coming off of Memorial Day, easing back into things, easing, so to speak. How's their attitudes been?
Yeah, it's good. I talk a lot about even when we have recruiting and stuff, and just to give Coach Lashley the tip of the spear for us, and his staff credit on, I get to work with who they bring, and I get to do the recruiting piece too, but I'm not the evaluator of it. And what they've done here and what they've built here, and I think we're part of that, obviously being the weight room and strength guy, but the culture here is what separated us. That's kind of been our secret sauce. Whether we were the American and, first year in ACC last year, that's kind of been our secret sauce is the culture. And they've done really, really nice job of evaluating young people and then all of our portal guys. They've been really, really good fits. I think he has a great understanding of what it takes to win. And like right here on my board says culture precedes performance. And that's always been that way for us. I mean, you can have all the world-class dudes in the world, but if they're not like this and they don't love and care about one another and want to push each other and hold each other to a standard, it's only going to take you so far. You might get lucky one time here or there, but to sustain it, that's the hard part. And that's what we're trying to do at this place.
Yeah, I love that, man. There's a lot of great stuff kind of in that quick answer. But, one thing that actually stood out, and we're going to get to transitioning to the ACC, as you kind of mentioned there, and, facilities and things of that nature. But one thing that kind of perked my ears up when you said, I'm not the evaluator, I just kind of tell them what we do. What would the strength and conditioning evaluation be if you were out on the road recruiting and looking at these guys? What kind of things would you be like, yep, that's a guy we can work with? What would be important to you?
I definitely would check movement, movement prep stuff. You can watch practice and see a lot just for ankle mobility. A lot of that's key for us, and just thoracic mobility, obviously hip mobility, but a lot of that's linked to the ankle. So there's some of those things, and just how hard they play. I mean, for me, there's a grit factor, and do those guys have grit? Are they willing to finish? Those kind of things. You can tell the elite from the elite, and then there's the guys that are, kind of that cusp of they've maybe always been better than somebody else, but really haven't been pushed yet. And, obviously check the weight room. There's some really good, really, really, really good high school programs, especially around here. So like this year's freshman class has been an absolute joy to work with because they came in prepared. And the first day I told most of them, I said, your job tonight is to go home and call your strength coach or whoever your coach was and tell them thank you, because they prepared them really well for this. And some of them aren't super strong just because they're freshmen. And we take our time with our freshmen. We slow cook them. But when I'm not starting from ground zero, trying to teach a hang clean, a squat, one of those things, man, we can elevate the process a lot faster.
And Coach, we were just down there a couple months ago. We had the pleasure of training that brand new facility. It was beautiful. Like, that was my first time being in Texas, and just be able to spend that time there. I was like, man, this is like, appreciate y'all. What were some of the must-have features with designing that new weight room?
Yeah, for us, just I'm a big believer in functionality, obviously, but then if I'm a big believer in being efficient for our kids. I think people forget sometimes, we don't as coaches, but people kind of forget sometimes, they are young people. They have school, they have athletic training, they have study hall, they have a social life, they have families, they have other stuff going on outside of here. They're not just robots. And to keep it as effective as possible and to get the amount of work we try to do in a 2-hour block, you got to be really, really efficient in how you do things. And so whether it's transitions from place to place, we try to make sure that we cram all of it into a certain space. So the way we built this with Powerlift was everything's self-contained, as you guys saw. And just like having the stacks for the lat pull downs and all that stuff is on a one tree deal, makes it a lot easier and more efficient for them. And it goes down to the small details of where we place the equipment room. And they have to go down and get their equipment. They have to walk by the weight room. At the end of the weight room is the nutrition area. And it's placed there on purpose, because I learned something when I was at Virginia before, was these dudes literally won't take, because human nature is to take the easy path, right? We're built to conserve energy and warmth and clothes and food. So it's just the nature of it is. We all do the same thing. You do it, I do it. So we put it down there so that when so they're more likely to walk by it and take a left turn, because it's right there. If I put it on this end of the room down here, they're just not going to do it. And so we made sure we environmentalize where everything's at for them. So it's a very efficient program.
I love that. The thought process behind it all and the science of, no, you're going to pass this. You're going to stop by. We need you to get bigger. We need you to do all these things. And the intentionality, again, the training room is right across the way from you guys. Such a beautiful facility. And, really just even the thought process of the color scheme and everything. I mean, the turf right there, you've got the hill, which I'd like for you to talk about a little there. But even when you were thinking about the equipment and what you need, what you don't need, I mean, we've been a bunch of places, and some have more room than others, and man, they've got every toy you can think of. Others are very conservative and have less things than you guys do. So when you were thinking machine wise or equipment wise, what was really important to you? Like, hey, we had to have this because it's who we are and what we do.
Yeah, for the bottom line for me, this is year 30 for me. Been blessed to be in the business long time. Man. Hopefully have 10 to 15, 20 more years. I mean, however long I can go. My wife always says I can't retire. I still obviously have a passion for my why is young people, beyond just the football piece. The football piece is how do we have them be successful here at the next level is a really key component for me of how do I make sure they have the best opportunity to play for 10 years in the league. If you play for 10, that's a long time, and that's kind of our goal. So our thought process from the time you set foot on campus to the end is working all along the way. But as far as equipment wise, I'm just not getting away from the bar, man. We're going to clean. We're going to squat. Everybody knows it. Our kids embrace it. They enjoy the grind of it. Some days are harder than others for them because everybody's ebbs and flows, but I'm just not going to get away from the bar. Like, that's just who I am. Now, we have all the FMS and all the functional stuff, and we do all that, but what we've done is we shove it in the workout. So if they do a back squat, they're doing an ankle mobility. Like today, we had sumo rocks between cleans. So they're getting all the little stuff you see on Instagram and all the little weird things people do, which I think are important, but I'm not going to dedicate a time and a space to it. It's going to be in the workout. So that is like the recovery between sets is that kind of stuff. So we're able to, the proverbial, we'll kill two birds with one stone type thing for us is kind of how we do it. The hill was important for me. They built this facility on top of our old hill, but actually having it inside is better. So like our first 3 weeks, their first 3 sets of squats, they got to go do 3 sprints. So they're getting 9 extra sprints at 19.2% grade hill. And we shuffle it sometimes. We sprint it sometimes. We push plates up it sometimes. So it's a good tool for us to have. Kids like it. It's fun to see like how explosive and dynamic these athletes are, especially today's day and age. When you watch them run up a hill, you can tell with a trained eye of like you watch like Romello and Kevin Jennings and some of like the Chris Johnson, CJ Jr., Derek McFalls and Mellows and those kind of guys, Macobia and Ahmad. Like you watch them run that sucker, it's just a different guy. You know what I mean? And so it's fun to have that hill. We use it for recovery piece too. We do have our cardio deck, as you guys have seen. We have the mezzanine level that has a full gym in it, with our Ox Fit and some of the things that our athletic trainers use for as far as recovery from guys that are coming back from injury, like a RJ Maryland. So we can see in video and diagram that stuff. And those guys are placed down here too. So we're right next to each other. I put nutrition down here. So our assistant AD for nutrition, Christy Schold, is down here as well. So we're all part of human performance is kind of how I see it. I even see the equipment room as part of human performance because you got to put them in the right cleat, right? Every big guy wants to wear speed TDs. I get it.
What's wrong with that? I don't understand.
Speed TDs. So, but we have everything you need in here. And like, it's all on our rack, so it may not look like it, but we have the soft tissue stuff on there. We have the eccentric hamstrings. I mean, we have all the things on there. They're just built into a confined space. So the movement pattern isn't having to go very far to get the work done we need.
Efficiency and just convenience is the biggest thing. And I think, like you're mentioning, just having it all, right next door to one another. And it's strength and conditioning is more than just the weight room. Of course, like you said, you got your recovery guys, you got your nutritionists, and just having that interwoven in one stop shop basically is, it gets no better than that. So Coach, coming off of last year, transitioning to the ACC, having a huge year, you guys became one of the teams that, I'm a Wolfpack guy, but if SMU was playing, I'd tell my wife, like, turn this game on, let's see what's about to happen. And then, ending those last two games and not really having the most favorable result. What have you seen as far as those returning players, like their level of hunger? Obviously, it sounds like, the freshman class that come in, they're ready to train, but those returning athletes, have you noticed a different fire in those guys this summer so far, even though it's only been 5 weeks?
Absolutely. Just from day one in January, you got a lot of older guys that have a lot of reps on them that have played a lot. So now unfortunately, those didn't go the way we wanted them to, but you have to get there at some point to touch it. Right? No great program just showed up and all of a sudden they won 10 in a row. You've got to get to it, touch it. Hopefully you have some success. And we had, Clemson game, we didn't start fast. We finished really well. So we know we belong. We just have things we have to clean up. And then the hunger for those guys has been really good. As far as this year being year 4, the culture, those kind of things, we're doing less. We're doing more coaching of what's on the field, less coaching of keep your hands off your hips. Hey, stand up. Hey, you missed a rep. Our guys, the thing I always tell them is everybody says iron sharpens iron. So what I've always told the kids, iron sharpens iron if you will let it, right? It doesn't just sharpen iron just to sharpen iron. Like, you have to let it. And so if it's me telling Eric, hey, you missed a line, if he just barks back and has a bad attitude about it, that doesn't sharpen it. But on the same hand, it's maybe not my best day, then Eric needs to be able to say, it's not calling you out. It's holding you to the standard. And we have a thing here. We're not a big motto. We're not a big gimmick thing. That's not who we are. It's about chasing the standard. I think it's really simple. And I always tell the kids, you're chasing the standard that you all set and the guys that have come before you have set. So can you chase that daily? And there are ebbs and flows. And we talk about the other thing we talk about is moving our needle. Every day in front of you, me, and everybody else in the world, there's a chance to make it a choice. Whether it's how fast you drive, whether you wear your seatbelt, what you eat, how you sleep. And it's about inertia, right? And the more you get the inertia going is you move the needle. And moving that needle doesn't always mean it moves in the right way every time. There's small movements, but there's always a choice. Did you get out of bed? Did you go to sleep? Did you not doom scroll on your phone all night long? There's just lots of that stuff. They have so many distractions. So we talk about moving our needle and chasing that standard that we expect from it.
Yeah, man, I love all of that because, as I mentioned there, you guys making that transition, that's a big deal and it's hard. And you guys handled it flawlessly. I mean, you go undefeated in the ACC in the regular season. You get to the ACC championship. You make college football playoff. I mean, those are massive accomplishments that it's great to hear that hunger and saying, hey, we want more. We've had that taste. Now, how can we go and take it now that we know that's really what's out there? And I can't wait to see it. It's going to be a ton of fun. And I know those guys have bought into the challenge and will certainly be, continuing to do that as summer goes on. We're going to continue the summer talks, but as you were kind of saying some of those things and the gimmicks, and you don't do a lot of, the sayings, which I love. And you told me that really early when I first met you. But one thing you guys do is smash that freaking rock in the locker room after you win games. How did that come about? Where did it come from? And, how do you select who smashes that rock? Because there was a lot of smashing going on last year.
Smashing going on out there, which is fun to do. It started a long time ago, kind of took it from different parts. And then we got to Tulsa. Gus Malzahn was our OC. Todd Graham was our head coach. Mike Norvell was our receivers coach. So there's a good tree of people there. And I just told Todd I want to do this deal, and he's like, okay. Well, then it just starts to take off, right? And the kids understand what it's a really nice finishing point to the week, right? So you can smash that rock, you can celebrate that evening, but it just kind of gives you an end point to what it is. And then I was fortunate enough to bring it, to Arizona State, and I was fortunate enough to take it to Virginia. And then obviously when I got here, I told Coach Lashley about it. And the first couple of times, it takes a minute to get into it, but then it's such a big deal now. That's what's cool about the pitchers. Coach uses it on his Twitter a lot of times. Our kids use it. And what's fun now is it's just a good way to end that win. But that locker room is just packed and waiting to see who's going to get it. And we try to rotate it around, kind of not necessarily maybe the best stat game or whatever. It depends. It's just kind of a feel. Coach and I let him get his stuff done, the media and that kind of stuff. And we kind of walk up the tunnel together. And it's like, okay, who do you want this week? And we kind of have a handful of guys. We check the stats on the sideline just to kind of make sure if somebody had a record game or catches or runs or turnovers or takeaways, whatever. But we try to make sure it spreads it around just so that's the fair thing to do because it is a team sport. But man, they really get after it. And what's fun now is it's grown so much is that the little kids, right? The coaches' kids are in there and they have pieces. Then a lot of the wives are like, I have so many rocks in my house. Funny part is my wife has a lot of rocks on her jewelry mirror too, right?
That's right.
And my wife hand paints them all. And
cool.
They're not just the old spray paint days. They're actually hand painted. It takes her probably between 8 and 12 hours, depending on the one, because it's a concrete paver. Thinking about doing a tattoo on skin, you're talking about tattooing on a rock, basically with pens and paint. So it's a lot of work, but she takes great pride in it. And we coat them and we carry them around in a briefcase type deal. It's protected and it's just become a huge deal. So it's fun to see that it's something that's that hung on for a long time.
Yeah, it's super cool. I that's how I love to end my weeks, is just smashing something that kind of gets me going. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
well, that week's over, on to the next thing.
Exactly. It's a little, exclamation point to the 7 days. Sorry, Coach. You mentioned your time at Arizona State, UVA, and Utah State. How did you get into strength and conditioning? At what point did you know this is what you wanted to, pursue?
Yeah, I tell this story a lot. I tell it to every recruit because, just so the parents understand my why and kind of my background and they get to that personal part. So literally in 7th grade, Mike Minch was my PE coach who I really loved, and he trained us. He's also the AT and strength coach at the Santa Rosa JC. So I was like, I knew I wanted to do something. At that point, I didn't know what it was because back then there wasn't really this field very much. And then when I got to Utah State, Mill White was my strength coach. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So I interned a lot of summers. I didn't coach anybody. I just painted boxes and dumped trash and swept and cleaned. And basically he was like my father and just kind of made you earn it and wanted to see if you really wanted to do it or not, which I was like, cool, I've already done this my whole life. So this is just continuing that process. And then when I got done playing, I knew, my last year was 95 and I got done playing. Nobody wanted a 6'2", 240-pound tight end. So I knew I wanted to be a GA. And so I was able to become a GA in March of 96. So kind of right when I got done playing. And Kim Sword was very gracious. Milt stepped down, went to the hospital route, and Kim Sword ended up hiring me as a graduate assistant in Milt. And then we lost an assistant. So we had one head guy and we had 3 GAs. Well, basically I was like the assistant because I was the older GA. And then Kim left and went to San Jose State. And at 26, I got my first head job, and I had, right time, right place. I also big believer in hard work and what I've done. And so I took over then. And then I spent 13 years there as a player and as a strength coach, and that's kind of my route there.
Wow.
And then went to Tulsa for 3 years and went to Louisville for 1 and back to Tulsa for 3 and to Pittsburgh for 1 when Aaron Donald was a sophomore, that was really fun to work with.
Not bad.
And then Arizona State for 6 and Virginia for 4, and we're going on year 4 here. So
wow, that's amazing. And you talk about that right place, right time, and I'm with you. When opportunity and preparation meet, beautiful things happen, and you're able to do some really cool stuff. So as we're preparing for this, and we're seeing some different things that towards the end of your kind of bio there over on SMU's website, it talks about when you were at Utah State, you oversaw all of it, but specifically, it sounds like you worked with basketball, football, volleyball. When did that happen? And how different is that? Because clearly those are 3 very specific, very different body types and skill sets.
Yeah. So we'd work football. If it was, you had your football groups and you shoved volleyball in a time slot, and men's basketball, I was really lucky. Stu Morrill was our basketball coach and he really believed in training. So I just like I do with football, those guys we called it Blitzkrieg in the beginning of because then you had like 5 to 6 weeks before the Midnight Madness, So it's like, we just blitzed them, man. They ran hard, and occasionally they have recruits in and be like, hey, can we not do that much on Friday? Yeah, sure. Cool. But we're trying to prepare people, You're trying to take them. We're like, research says we only work at 60% of what we're capable of, right? So how do I get to 61 and measure that? I don't know, but I'm sure as heck going to try. And I do that by creating an environment that's so hard and so stressful and so taxing that you as the individual get to the point of like, man, I don't know if I can keep going. And that's where you have to have a relationship with our kids, which myself and my staff, I think, really have a good relationship of what motivates everybody. You guys are all, Isaac's motivated different than Eric. Eric's motivated different than I am. And some of it is just, you got to figure that piece out. And if you don't really know your kids deep down, then I think you're cheating the kid. So that's how you motivate them. It's not me yelling and screaming. I don't need to do that. When I do it, they know, like, all right, we better line this thing out and we get it fixed, and they fix it. And right now we're to the point in the culture here, if they come out and they're lackadaisical in the warm up, I just blow the whistle and say, fix it or I will. And Kevin Jennings a couple of times is running back in the locker room and they run back out and we're lined out good. So that's the culture piece, right? And that's where you kind of want to get to, where you have to help lead and coach because you are the leader, but you want to build leaders amongst your leaders. And that piece has been really good for us. So it was a busy time with all those sports, but you didn't know any different.
No, for sure. I get that. And let me just say this. When you talk about the y'all fix it or I will, that is one of the, like, it's a double-edged sword. It's one of the best things because you're like, okay, we have a chance. Yeah. But also the most terrifying because if it doesn't get right, you know it's about to be hell and you better figure it out. So thank you for giving them that opportunity because I've been in those situations before and I'm grateful when it happens.
What they could get is not what they want. So
Exactly.
But maybe what they needed that day.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Coach, to that point, and I think when we were there, you mentioned this. You said you try to make a point that you touch every single guy who's in that weight room, and that you have that one-on-one relationship, and just make sure that they're seen, right, and heard by you. Do you have a particular group of guys that you specifically train when it comes, to those weight room sessions, or are you the floater? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I am 100% the floater. Okay. I have to know my guys have their areas and they have their guys, and they get to coach everybody because we break up different sections of the workout doing different things. But like, I'm the float guy. So I need to know everything about everybody, and I try to see as much as I can. And the room is set up really nice. I can see all the way down, so I can still yell and scream and encourage somebody that's on the other side of the turf.
And encourage.
You know what I mean? Right. And to make sure that. But I need to know, how did Kobe and Ahmad Moses do down here on this rack, and how did Billy and Isaiah Turbo do down here on this rack as across the turf? But you can see it, and those things make a big difference. I might be coaching this rack, but if I can just, if you're good at it, you can see what's going on. And then you can go back and buzz that kid and say, hey, that's a hell of a job today. You did a really good job. Just like Lamadrick Spencer today, he's on the middle rack. I'm down with Ty Hawkins on this rack. But I can see that, Lamadrick PR'd in power clean today. He's gone a long way from coming the JUCO route to where we are today. So you buzz down there and give a guy a pat on the butt or a fist bump or whatever. They know you're watching. Right? Everybody wants you to be acknowledged, not necessarily like hype them up, but just the fact that you did see him and you were encouraging him, that's a big deal, I think, to kids.
Yeah, it really is. Where did that come from? Because obviously our experiences are our experiences, and at Clemson, Coach B was with the linebackers. That's just what he did, and I'm kind of like jealous, right? Like, I want you down here with me, big dog. And I would have loved to, him just to buzz around. Not saying one way is right or not, but where'd that come from for you?
I think just for me, I'm a people person. I mean, some people don't see that. They see the grumpy old dude in the office. I'm not really that grumpy, but that's just kind of it's the sticker on your wall that says you're the head strength coach, and that kind of comes with a stigma. But for me, just to touch everybody just makes a difference, right? I mean, everybody is somebody. Like, literally everybody's somebody. It's not my job to say that the walk-on kid who's paying his own way can't play here. It's not my job. My job is to help them and give them the feedback and train them at the highest level I can so that they may have a chance to play. You never know, right? And that's just, so I think you having a personal relationship, one, you can get way more out of a person if they know you care. Because the old adage, they don't really care what I know. They don't. They care, and they need to trust me. And so we talk a lot about trust here. I tell every recruit the same thing. The faster we can get on a trust level, and that's a two-way street. I have to earn that, and they have to earn mine too. It's not just walk in the door and I demand it. That's not going to work, man. They don't know me, and they have to know that I care. If it's changing wiper blades in the parking lot, it's fixing a battery in the parking lot, changing a tire, whatever those kind of things, you want them to come to your office to say, hey, coach, I need help with this. Hey, this came up in life. And if you have a good relationship with your kids, if a guy's upbeat every day and he's bouncing off the walls and all of a sudden he's not, then it's my job to kind of pull him aside, not in front of the group, but pull him aside and be like, you good? You don't have to tell me everything, but and they'll be honest. And sometimes they're not. They are people. And so the more they know you care about them, the more you're going to get out of them. And I just think that you touching everybody is an important piece. Like, everybody is somebody for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's like a great quality that we're seeing all across the board with these strength coaches. Like you said, having that label, head strength coach, it comes with that stigma. But when you one of the big reasons that Eric and I wanted to have this platform is just so that you guys get the opportunity to show that, just as these athletes are people, you guys are people too. Yeah. And, it's more than blowing a whistle, screaming at these kids and, running them through a workout. It's making that interpersonal connection, and coaching is a two-way street. I think a lot of times people are afraid and think it's my way or the highway, but it's like, if you can break it down to that kid, like, hey man, like, you got to trust me as much as I trust you. And the quicker we get there, we're going to have us a good time and, have some success along the way. So,
yeah. And obviously the success piece is huge. And I know I've been fortunate to be successful at all the spots I've been. And that starts with your head football coach and the people that they hire. Right. And here, Coach Lashley has done an unbelievable job of leading our kids and giving them freedom when freedom is needed, and listening and leaning on me from my side of it, and asking perspectives on things. And we like to work, but he's very, very intentional on how we work. And so I think that's leads. They don't talk about it enough upstairs in recruiting. I do a ton just because of the way our schedule is set up, just to take August till hopefully national championship game. They do a really nice job of keeping our guys fresh. If you look at, we're 11-1 in November in 3 years. I don't care what sport you play. 11-1 is 11-1. So to be fast, to be fresh, to keep them on the grass, that's our job. And you have to have a relationship with every single kid to trust them to tell you the truth. And the kids will run through a wall for you. So there's times I had to tell, like Elijah Roberts last year, Jared Harrison Hunt, like, hey, let's don't do this today. Let's do this. No, I'm good, coach. Well, they're always going to say that because they're just warriors, right? But it's my job to take the catapult, to take the trained eye, watch and practice, to know what I'm doing in here. I need you to do this to get you fresh for Saturday, because that's the most important piece, because they're going to do it no matter what, because they're just unbelievable young people.
And that's one thing, Coach, that I think, I probably couldn't put a timestamp on it, but at least the last, 15 years, we have become so much smarter in how we train and the way we practice. And, it's not just go hard 100% all the time. Like, you fizzle out, you get hurt. Our bodies just, you can't sustain that. Now, you certainly want to give your all but be smart about it. And I think that we've heard that has been a big trend of so many strength coaches is we evaluate everything. And if a guy if he's hitting those numbers, we have to pull him back. And usually it's your best players too, right? Like there's no coincidence that the hardest workers are usually the best players. So how do you guys try to manage that, I guess, in the summer? Because there's no ball. There's some things that are different now than when I played, but you're molding them and you're making them into these monsters. How do you evaluate and how do you guys train in the summer leading up to fall camp?
Yeah. So our guys know here the month of June is a grinder. Like it is a 5-week grinder. And so like my older kids, when we get back off the break, the Logan Parrs and Kevin Jennings and some of those, like the older kids, we'll still be high intensity, but we'll be a lot less volume, right? And some of the other kids they continue to grow. The younger ones still need a different training platform. It doesn't, not wholesale change, but different rep schemes, those kind of things. But the month of June, we go, man. Like anybody who's played for me and or coached with me, like they know I like work, and we have our speed days and those kind of things, which aren't my favorite because they're speed days, and I
love that.
I work them, but I also am smart enough to know, like, hey, you can't just grind it in the ground. We take our catapult numbers. I take a trained eye. Monday wasn't our best day in here, and I kind of was like looking at some of the stuff I did, and we probably did a little too much and some different changes and atmosphere changes. And so they bounced back on Tuesday and Thursday. They did really well. You have to have a good pulse to your team. You have to have a good trained eye. You have to see what they're doing. You have to use all the tools in your tool belt, which Catapult gives us a lot of things. I'll never change a practice schedule for a coach. I will more manage my area down here. Now, if a guy's running red a lot, then there's a time to have a conversation with, hey, we might need to back Hibner off, for example, of a little bit. But it's talking to the kids. They're not going to lie to you. They're going to tell you the truth. There's very few kids that are going to try to get away with something, and they stand out like a sore thumb, and that doesn't typically happen. Most of them are pretty honest, and they know that I want the best for them. So it's educating them. It's just like our guys in here, they're going into a break, and high achievers love high achievers. Low achievers don't like high achievers, and vice versa. So my biggest teaching is like with the high achievers is like when you have a break, you need to take the break, and they just want to keep going and do their footwork and all their extra stuff. I'm like, if you'll just trust me, and after next Wednesday, just take off till Monday. I'm telling you, you're going to feel better. And I always say, any NFL guys, I can hook you up with one of them, talk to them. I'm telling you, when they take a break, because that's when you rest, recover, and grow and get fresh. Because accumulation is accumulation. Back when we played, you had 14 days of 2-a-days, and you had 13 days straight of 2-a-days. It's practices. And it
I don't know how any of y'all survived. I really don't. I really don't.
We did, right? And then, not saying it was right or wrong, but accumulation is accumulation. And when you want to be fresh, fast, and physical and healthy in November, December, and then into January, there has to be a good plan. I think Coach Lashley does a really fantastic job, along with his coaches, just even side, like, here's a practice plan. Here's what coach wants to do. But Garen can take his guys. Rob Likens can take his guys. Simons can take his guys. And they know how to manage those dudes and and the feedback. We constantly talk to those guys too. Like, here's what we're seeing. Here's what are you seeing? Those kind of things. And then the Catapult does a really nice job with numbers and player load. And we have some standards for us that we use, and as far as that goes. But accumulation is accumulation. You run a car in a little bit of oil, eventually it's going to break down. So
Absolutely. So, Coach, coming from UVA, I know this is year 4, but it's about to be year 2 with SMU being in the ACC. Did you make any changes or modifications to how you approach, preparing these guys in the ACC at UVA compared to SMU being in the ACC right now?
The program's a program. You take every year a little bit differently. You have to evaluate who you are. We're a little younger now as far as like actual new people in the program, not necessarily age-wise, but you have to take every year a little bit and look at who you're dealing with, what you're dealing with. Last year's group was a very veteran group because they were older. So we have some younger guys, so there's some different plans in that aspect. But end of the day, I am who I am. We're going to work hard. I'm going to try to strain you and train you, and I'm going to try to get you to break through whatever your threshold is here. Can we move the needle one notch? Because they're like I tell them all the time when I'm riding the 4-man sled. Like, I know, excuse me, what it should feel like when you push that thing. If I can't feel the wind at my back, we're not pushing. Right? And you can tell. And I can either yell and scream or dog cuss them, which that's not going to get much out of them because they're only going to do it then because they're just mad. My job is to like, hey, I know there's more in there. That little dude in there telling you there's more in there. And once you bump that one time, now the next time they do it, it's like, well, I can do this and I can do it at a higher level. And some guys work at really elite levels, like Isaiah Wokobia. I mean, that dude runs hard every single thing he does. And so does Kevin Jennings. Like, you never have to say, give me more, because they just don't know if some guy's buffer is down here. We have to move that needle and help them. That's your job. Like, the writing the program, that's not that difficult. The secret sauce and the exceptional strength coaches that there's a lot of them out there are the guys that can get their kids to camp fresh, healthy, strong, fit, and really feeling like the physically, like, I can dominate, right? And there's a difference to that, and that's why why I believe that we'll never get away from the bar. It just is what it is.
Yeah, no question about it. Coach, man, this has been awesome. We're super grateful. Got to have you back on during the fall, but super excited to talk to you and excited for this season and what you guys are going to do. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, I appreciate you guys.